I think this is quite a large area, and one of the difficulties is choosing a focus, and for different people, different focuses are important. The problems with publishers and the Office of Student Disabilities, I think, is that at the moment, the Office of Student Disabilities pay the price of poor quality output from the publishers. And whilst better quality output from the publishers would greatly improve the experience somewhere else, it doesn't give a benefit to the publishers. And this brings to mind the conference currently taking place in Glasgow about climate change. That in our present situation, a lot of the time you have to marketize and, in a certain sense, socialize or politicize the thing. So for climate change, social values and community values sort of become important. And the Office of Disability Services exists, as far as I can tell, largely through legislative requirements, but that doesn't mean that the funding requirements are there also. Have I got that all about right, Nelson and Steve?
You do.
You're both nodding. I think it's really important that people in the tech community have a decent simplified picture of what's going on, so that they can make better judgments. It doesn't have to be a detailed picture, and it might be a picture that consists of half a dozen stories. Stories are one way to give a picture. From my personal point of view, I'm interested in, what's the word? Getting accessibility into the documents as early as possible. And there's two meanings of the word early there. The one is as early in the production cycle as possible, and the other is as early as possible in time. So moving the AMS or Springer to produce accessible outputs could take a long time, whereas an easily distributed tool that allows a single page of mathematics to be written accessibly can be deployed much more quickly. I remember that when TeX was started, Don Knuth would typeset little small documents, you know, a sort of family story or something like that. And I'm also reminded that, this is in the 1980s, the Boston Computer Society did quite a famous survey of software for creating mathematics, typesetting mathematics. And it was based on a large number of examples. So the sort of one of the routes of going forward, and it is only one of many routes going forward, is to gather decent examples, some of which are really real world examples, and test the tools out in them. And the sort of outcome I was looking for from this, not from this meeting, but contributed from this meeting, is some idea of the difficulties faced by people in the ODS when faced with small documents that might be a quiz. The student has to take a quiz and the professor creates the quiz. I remember doing that. And my quizzes, I printed them off on my actually dot matrix printer when I had it. And then they were mimeoed, they were cyclostyled, I'm not sure what the right word for it is for everybody, in 30 or 40 copies for the students to take. And of course they weren't accessible. And it wasn't possible with the equipment we had. It was 10 megahertz, 2 megabyte machine. But it ought to be possible now for somebody to create a quiz fairly simply, that the ODS could fairly simply turn into an accessible document. And
yeah, that's technically doable today, but the issue is, unless the ODS student working to make things accessible is intimately familiar with math and LaTeX, they can't create the quiz that's accessible. We have a blind math professor teaching a mainstream group of students, and they're using our editor to, or he's using our editor to create the quiz. The students are using our free math editor to key in answers or show their work. Then that is sent back to the professor, who imports that into his talking editor and can grade it and then email it to the students. But it's so complicated. It's not like grading a regular paper. So I agree with you, Jonathan. It would be so nice if that could be made much more easier.
The good news is that it's been done, or that it is being done. Knowing it can be done is in some sense the hardest part, one of the hardest parts.
Well, we know that there are wonderful artists out there that could paint beautiful paintings, but the fact that it's being done doesn't mean that a lot of other people could do it. That's kind of the issue, or has the desire to do it. Our market is supply push. It is moral, ethical, legal reasons to do it. It's the right thing to do. Diversity. We call these supply push. We're pushing our technology out there and trying to encourage and make people use it, as compared to what really works, which is demand pull. Using this can help your company make more money, make more profit. So that the second description is how we usually market our software. It's just, I wish it were easier.
When you say demand pull, in some sense, the demand is coming from the disabled students in the Office of Disability Services.
Well, there's a demand there, but from the viewpoint of the publisher, the student is pushing their needs on the publisher, who may not have an interest in fulfilling that need. So in the eyes of the publisher, that is supply push. In the eyes of a publisher, how are they going to benefit? If they could benefit from it, in their eyes, it's demand pull. So it depends on whose glasses you're looking through.
Okay.
But you're right.
Yeah. Every purchase is also a sale.